Whenever one person finds success with something, there's gonna be another person that copies them and tries to pass off their work as their own. That's just how the world works. For every Fruit Loops, there's a Tutti Fruities. For every Lego, there is an Enlightened Building Bricks with classic characters like Donkey Kong, Mario, Green Yoshi, and this guy. TF2's no different in this regard. Being very successful and influential with a unique defining art style, it was kind of inevitable that TF2 was going to get its fair share of copycats. But today, we'll be scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to TF2's weirdest ripoffs. And you know what would hit the spot as I talk about them? A drink and a cookie by the fireplace. So it's a good thing today's video is sponsored by Drink Control. You wanna know something that's frickin' sweet? Eating a bowl of cereal in the morning. You wanna know something that's not quite as frickin' sweet? Taking a look at the nutrition facts and discovering the ungodly amount of sugar you just ate. If you want to capture that experience of eating a sweet treat with none of the health worries, then Drink Control is where it is at. Here, I have the Cocoa Crunch Meal Replacement Shake. Being a video editor, my job requires me to spend extended periods of time in front of a computer screen. And as much as I'd like to indulge on sugary health bombs 24/7, I'm trying to have a better lifespan than the average caveman. Drink Control has been an amazing substitute. It tastes just as, if not better than a bowl of cereal, but with a fraction of the sugar and a whole bunch of protein, vitamins, fiber, and collagen to help me keep my athletic physique. Not to mention that these shakes come in a bunch of other scrum-diddly-umptious flavors like banana split, strawberries and cream, cinnamon toast, and much more. You can drink all of these awesome flavors and have it be healthy at the same time. It's a total win-win. Not only that, but Drink Control also sells cookies. Chocolate chunk and cookies and cream. The cookies are soft and crumbly, which is the perfect texture I look for in a cookie. And just like the shakes, these cookies are jam-packed with vitamins, protein, fiber, and more that'll put a huge smile on your internal organs. Aw, look how happy they are. So if you're in the mood for a healthy yet sweet treat, check out my link in the description and use code THEWHAT10 for 10% off your first order. Trust me, your body will thank me later. You can also use the code for 30% off of the Bundle Builder for even more tasty treats to gobble up. And you can even hop into your local GNC and find Control products there as well. Thank you, Drink Control, for sponsoring the video. Now, let's dive back into the video. Our first TF2 ripoff comes all the way from the Slavs with a game called Contra City. This is a game released on the 16th of May in 2013 by a studio called Edcon Games. Looking at the developer's website, you can see that these guys' gimmick is that they really like ripping off Counter-Strike. But one of their first forays into game development was Contra City. The official description for it reads, "Are you a fan of shooting games? Grab the weapon and fight online with real players all over the world in new online FPS Contra City. Choose the equipment you like among the variety of outfits. You can look like a commando, gangster, military, raider, dear God, I hope that one was a typo, biker, and dozens of other characters. Show everyone who is the boss of the city." And looking at the gameplay, you certainly can see those revolutionary graphics. Loading into each map, you're forced to either join the red or blue team. Now, I know that TF2 doesn't own the concept of red and blue teams, but I can assure you that the similarities do not end there. See, Contra City doesn't have 9 classes. It has one guy who has the power of all the different classes, like some sort of super class hybrid. Let's just call him John TF2. You can see that you have Scout's baseball bat, a minigun, sniper rifle, rocket launcher, shotgun, a pistol, and an AK-47. Yeah, for some reason, this game isn't just a TF2 ripoff. It's some sort of weird combination between Team Fortress and Counter-Strike, even though the only thing that these games really have in common is the developers behind them. So you'll have ammo and health pickups that look straight out of TF2, but you'll be shooting an AK-47 like it's Counter-Strike. And let me tell you, this looks like the least satisfying AK in video game history. But it turns out when you distill all of TF2's classes into one person, you run into some serious problems. For starters, there's absolutely no team recognition. I know it's something that TF2 doesn't always do perfectly, but in Contra City, the only way to tell apart an enemy from an ally is if they have a username over their head. Not only that, but there's no team colors on John TF2's model either. Look at this gameplay clip where the player shoots at his teammate for like 10 seconds before finally realizing that they're shooting their teammate. The map design in this game looks awful as well. Throughout the gameplay I've seen of this game, one of the most common maps is just a giant kill box with a rudimentary fortress on both sides. It doesn't look like there's any objectives either, just a simple team deathmatch to farm kills. Not to mention, these maps use stolen assets from TF2 such as these signs, these shipping containers, and the wood textures that you can find all over the map. The theft is absolutely shameless. Watching the main trailer for the game, things look a little more interesting. I think it can best be described as very Slavic. In the trailer, you can see a control point and flags for capture the flag, which means at least some maps have an actual objective. And you can also see an achievements menu that has an art style that's one-to-one with TF2's achievements. It even looks like the shotgun has some sort of weird force of nature effect that launches you backwards. However, the strangest thing about Contra City is that despite being a decade old, it appears to have a small dedicated fan base and still gets semi-regular updates, with the most recent update appearing to have come out as recently as September. And let me tell you, we live in a cruel, cruel world where Contra City can still receive major updates and TF2 doesn't. But that just about ends the tale of Contra City. Let's move on to our next ripoff. Our next ripoff comes all the way from China, land of the Great Wall, the Forbidden City, and very, very loose copyright laws. See, TF2 is unavailable in China, and Overwatch wouldn't be released until 2016. So there was a multi-year period where there was a distinctly hero shooter-shaped hole in the Chinese gaming market that was primed to be exploited for cash. Or yuan, I guess. So on December 15th of 2011, developers Pearl Digital would release their competitor to TF2. And by competitor, I mean complete and total ripoff. Final Combat. It's pretty obvious it's a copy just from the marketing material alone. Perhaps the most egregious ripoff in Final Combat is Bootleg Soldier, known as the Rocket. They have the same exact rocket launcher, exact same animations, the exact same general appearance, but I guess since the Rocket is dressed like a fireman, it's enough to set them apart. And just like TF2, most of the Final Combat mercenaries have their own Meet the Team trailer as well. And I really don't think that you're prepared for soldiers. Yeah. Chinese soldiers are straight up war criminal, man. He also has the best voice acting. Charge! Nurse! However, there's plenty of other bootleg classes as well. The sniper has the same name as TF2, but instead of being a piss-producing Australian menace, they're a femme fatale-like woman with a slim posture and high heels. Look, I'm not accusing Blizzard of ripping off the ripoff, but there's a non-zero chance they did. Bootleg Heavy has been turned into a fish salesman with a minigun. The engineer is gender swapped and has had their name changed to The Mechanism. But just wait till you see what they did to Medic. They turned him into a pink anime girl nurse. And for as much as the TF2 player base already tries to do that themselves, this is next level. They even still have the ability to ubercharge just like TF2. There's also, of course, bootleg Pyro, named the Firebat. In Final Combat, Pyro is a depressed clown. This was beautiful enough to make me cry. Aha, Shola! Something interesting about the Firebat's gameplay is unlike TF2's Pyro, Firebat never gained the ability to air blast, so WM1ing is the only viable strategy. Lots of other gameplay features have been removed as well, it seems. The rocket can't rocket jump, there's no resupply cabinets in the spawn rooms, and there's no alternative to Scout and Spy. They've been completely gutted from the game. Hell, the Mechanism and the Medical weren't even available at launch, they were added later. The game only released with 5 classes. The TF2 ripoff launched with no medic class. That is next level lazy. Although it's rare, Final Combat also has some original content to supplement for all of the lost content. For starters, there's a whole new class called the Striker that, to my knowledge, isn't a copy of any of TF2's classes, but instead a copy of Counter-Strike, complete with a tactical knife, M4 rifle, and utility grenades. In fact, is that Dust 2? What is it with these knockoff games trying to combine TF2 and Counter-Strike? Judging by all the comments from people who've actually played Final Combat, apparently this Striker class was insanely overpowered, and it's honestly not hard to see why. The assault rifle feels like a minigun with no rev up or move speed penalty, and just look at this clip of a player being flashbanged. That flash grenade was nowhere near the player, and they were fully blinded. There's a lot of other interesting features that differ from TF2 as well. It looks like the Medical's default primary isn't a bootleg syringe gun, but rather a bootleg Crusader's crossbow, complete with the ability to heal teammates. The sniper doesn't have an SMG, but rather the pistol from TF2 nearly copied one for one. And it looks like Final Combat also has a team deathmatch mode with no objective, just like Contra City. I mean, if you're uncreative enough to rip off a game, I guess you don't have the originality to make interesting game modes or maps, just kill boxes to shoot people in. And speaking of maps, Final Combat also rips that off. One of the most played maps is a near direct copy of Harvest, down to the layout and general theme. It really seems like the only good things these rip-off games have going for them is blatantly stolen from other games, whether that be stolen models, stolen sound effects, stolen maps, even the music. Everything is worse if it's not directly stolen. I mean, take a look at Final Combat's cosmetics. I feel like most people can agree that Team Fortress's cosmetics are absolutely iconic, and work at their best when they're tailored to each character and fit their respective personality. It helps the game's world and characters feel alive, while also allowing for the player to creatively express themselves. But now look at Final Combat. What class is this? More importantly, what team are they on? How about this guy? Which one of the iconic 7 classes is this person? What team are they on? Final Combat is TF2 distilled down to its very basics, with none of the charm or soul, but plenty of microtransactions and in-game purchases. It's no surprise to me that Final Combat would eventually be shut down, but it's surprising that it had a 7-year run, finally being taken offline in 2018. In fact, people cared so little for archiving the game that it has been completely lost since it shut down. There's no way to play the game, and there likely never will be. It's become lost media. The only information we have to go off of is the testimonies of former players and a bunch of low-resolution YouTube videos from back in the day. It really is a shame that Final Combat has been lost to the sands of time, but at the very least, the most entertaining parts of the game have been preserved. I mean, really, seeing Soldier as a Nazi dictator is wild. But before I get all doom and gloom, allow me to shine a beacon of positivity into this video. It really is true that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and for every game that straight up rips TF2 off, there's 10 games that take inspiration to create something truly new and original. Take Typical Colors 2, for example. It's a recreation of TF2 inside of Roblox. I mean, it kinda teeters on the edge of rip-off and fan game, but I'm gonna count it for the video. You can really feel the passion for TF2 in this project, whether it be the faithful recreations of TF2's map in the engine, both official and community made, or the gameplay recreated as best as you realistically can in Roblox. The game even has its own balance adjustments and custom weapons that make it feel original enough without just removing content out of laziness or straight up ripping it off. Sure, Typical Colors isn't perfect and it's pretty janky, but I'd rather take one Typical Colors over 500 Final Combats any day. And to all of you wonderful community members using TF2 to create awesome and unique games of your own, please do more than one take for voice lines.
Crazy killer!